So you saw the
So-
first video, yeah?
Yep. Yep.
I'll show you two other ones that are really short, and then I'll ask all the questions.
Okay.
This, you don't have to hear anything, so. Okay. So this would be ideally feedback. So kind of what the user would see, all right? When they're, let's say if he was in the dark right now, this is the feedback he would get. Okay? Did you see it?
I'm seeing it. Yep. Light. I'm seeing like light moving. Yep.
Yeah, that was it. It's really simple because it's just at the beginning stages. And now you see that?
Yeah,
Yeah.
that's real.
Okay.
Okay, so this is eventually this will be techie, but this is the first phase. Okay, so there will be questions about that, and then this is the last one. No, that's this one's just me doing. Actually, you know what? You can see the pictures. See these pictures?
Yeah. Those are the movements.
Yeah, that's like me. So this would be like abstract, right? In an abstract setting, see, I'm sort of responding, or it's
Exercising.
responding to me. Yeah, exercising. It's yoga. Okay. So based on those videos, okay, was the object clear, like what it does, just from those videos?
Yeah. It looks like it bends in different ways.
Does it follow your movement or you follow its movement?
That's one of the, that's yet to be determined. That's why we're asking these questions, because we're trying to understand what'll be best. And then what did you think about the object, just generally?
I mean, I think it could have been a little more, maybe like what's the word I'm looking for? Anamorphic, like more
Anamorphic.
like human in form.
Mm-hmm.
Personified?
No, I think I like.
Yeah.
I think that's what
Yeah,
I'm saying.
anamorphic.
Anthropomorphic?
Yeah. And I feel like maybe would have connected better, or knowing my kid, if it had a few like elements of like, I don't know, or maybe as a parent, I would want it to have like a positive sort of look to it that would encourage like smiling, or you know, that kind of thing.
This is great.
I
This
would
is
want
exactly
it to be
what
more
we're
like,
needing.
yeah, more like a shape that they would be able to like connect with.
This is great. So then with that, we'll get to this. I'll get back to the shape in a minute. Is it something you think your kid would want, that he would want to interact with?
Yeah, like something that would encourage movement. I mean, what ages are you? Like, I think that would be cool for younger kids. Like for
Yeah, like 6 to 8 we're shooting for. What age
6
do you
to
think would
8?
be, yeah?
No, I think younger than that, in my opinion. I think someone who's 6 to 8 might outgrow. Well, depends. I mean, for 6 to 8, then it could look robotic, and then they would like it more. If for a younger kid, if it was like squishier and cuter, then they would like that more. Do you know what I mean?
That's, I think, more the direction. That's why we showed like the colors and stuff. We're going to try to go with that angle, but we might have to check the other angle as well. We might have to check other kids. So with the prototype that you saw and the ideas that you were made aware of, what interactions do you think your son would have with the robot if it was there? Would he dance? Would he sit? Like what, while sitting down, ideally?
While sitting down? Sure. I mean, if it was for like stretching and like exercise kind of thing, that would be really cool. I think that would also be really useful as a parent, to get your kid to like do just get used to like moving their body in an exercisey kind of way. Mm-hmm. As far as dancing, I don't know. I feel like music and a robot might be oversimplified for this day and age, because there's so many videos and things that are like really like, you know, a lot of information all at once for them. Like, you know, I mean, I feel like for a simple toy that does movements, they would need to be specific movements for me to like buy it for the kid, because I wouldn't be sure that it would like create a dance party in his room, unless it was like a geared towards like dance party robot, you know, and then that would be different. Does that make sense?
Yep. But it more specifically thinking about expression, do you think it's something that Sam could use to develop expression? Is it something that
I feel like between 6 and 8,
that?
like they've already sort of developed like expression in that way, no? 6 to 8. I think expression starts to develop like a lot younger. So like I said, like a fluffier robot with like a big smiley face geared towards younger kids than 6 could encourage expression and movement. Absolutely. But between 6 and 8, I don't know. It's hard to hold their interest in this world where they have like a million shows and things they could do. And YouTube has like dance channels and yoga channels and all these things. And it's all dressed up in like Pokemon and Star Wars and all the things they like. So I think kids 6 to 8 would gravitate to things like that more.
So let's say if it was more anthropomorphic, more fluffier and stuff like that, and it wasn't necessarily a toy, but it was something that was, not to say that not Sam, but let's say it would be given to someone who isn't self-expressing. Do you think then it would be?
Yes, I think then someone who's less inclined to be self-expressive, or like a shyer kid or something like that, might be able to interact with a toy like that in their home, and might be more like happy to do that in their own space kind of thing. If they're shy, then yeah, it would. I think it would work better under those circumstances.
That's what we're doing. We don't want it to necessarily come out as a toy, but obviously for a kid, it would be the same thing, right? Because it would be
and I would almost even say, like, what about like kids on the like autism spectrum? Do you know what
we're researching that?
Like for me, that seems like that would be the best way to go for that kind of toy, because if you want to encourage expression through music, like most kids that are not on the spectrum do that. They do that so that by the time they're in kindergarten, by the time that they're in kindergarten, when they have dance parties with their friends and stuff like that, they're already into it. You know what I mean? Yeah. But I could see how kids that are not, don't communicate on the same level as like a child who just doesn't have autism, that would work for them a lot better. And you're playing a music game.
Yeah, you basically answered all of the questions. I had them all lined up, but it was more like a conversation, which is great. Two more. Which materials or fabrics do you usually buy for Sam?
Something, I mean, fabric would be like, I would want something that I'd be able to clean, I would think, like as a parent, like a surface that's like the easiest to clean. Like, look, because let's say they have a cold and they play with this thing and you're like, oh crap, all those germs, how do I clean it? If you could just remove the thing and wash it in the wash, that's fine if it was fabric, but a lot of fabric toys are not necessarily like removable and stuff. So in that case, I would want it to be like plastic.
And what about if it had, one of the things we're looking at is, oh, actually one more question, sorry. Did the robotic object, do you think, can it inspire open-ended play or creativity?
Sure, of course.
No. For both age groups that you mentioned, the younger, like 4 to 6?
Yeah,
6 to 8?
I think so.
And what could be different? I think you already answered that. You gave some ideas. I want to like tie in something that I'm not supposed to, but I'm curious. What if it had lights? You saw remember the picture with the 5, sort of what the research we're seeing is if it was shapes, it might be cooler, right? Because then it would be abstract and it would be maybe a bit more relatable. What if it had lights sort of at the joint points or even just on it? Do you think that would be more stimulating, more
for the kids? Absolutely, 100. if it lights up, or even if it reacts to like clapping or some kind of sound, and like if the kid could
Perfect.
activate the light somehow with movement or something like that, would be like super cool for kids for sure.
Great. This is why we ask these questions, to get this sort of
Yeah, they
ideas.
love lights. They love anything with lights.
What if it ideally, let's say, was in your house and it did exactly like in the video. It just went beep, beep, and Sam was sitting next to it, and it went beep, beep, and then it just started playing music and moving around. How do you think he would react? Scare him? Would it?
That's right. You are, sweetheart.
One question.
Look, I mean, I think he would have to be in the mood. I don't know if it would per se like activate him to move right away, kind of thing.
Got it.
Like I think kids just kind of like, they're either in the mood to do something or not. So I really don't think it's like dependent on the toy or the technology. Like I think, you know,
It's more so to.
for sure, if it had some kind of screen or something like that, that would captivate children these days a lot more. If there was some kind of touch element, a screen, something, because
Touch
those
element,
are
that's good, yeah.
those are the things that like I feel like kids never get bored of. Unfortunately,
That's true.
children on the spectrum. In which case, I think those simple interactions will be cool enough. And maybe if they had a backstory, or they got to pick a name for it or something like that, might be able to connect them more with the toy element of it as well. Do you know what I
But
mean?
you think that if the building that you had mentioned before, you think that would be, if the child was to assemble it himself?
Yeah,
You
if
think
there
that
was
would
an
be?
assembly, like if it came partially assembled with like all the important things already pre-assembled, but then the kid had like 3 simple steps of clicking whatever together, I think that would be really rewarding for the child as well.
You think it
Especially if
would
it's
give
a
the feeling of
robot.
like a companion more in
I
that way?
think it would be like, yeah, like, and I think if it was something that they were able to create themselves, or they felt like maybe the creative process starts already in that assembly kind of thing. And then in addition to that, if it had like some kind of backstory that the child needed to make up, like a couple of details to it or whatever, and then that would connect, I think.
So he would
kid to
essentially be the storyteller for the robot. He would be creating its identity.
Yeah, help create its identity, and then what would happen is that it would be unique to them. And
That's
so
amazing.
if another friend had something like that, that would be unique to that friend. Like they wouldn't choose the same name, or they wouldn't choose the same, like, you know, maybe something simple like choose where they're from in the world, and or in space or wherever, and give it a name, you know. Or if you guys created like a backstory that it's like a robot that's come from the planet blah 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 blah, you know, something superhero related, something that like hanging out with you will make this robot like Miss Homeless, you know, something like that would connect the child emotionally.
You're confusing branding with functionality.
But it's really interesting data, because it's funny, as soon as you mention that, I'll stop the recording.
Like a relationship with it in terms of like what you want, or your goal for this is to like encourage movement, self-expression, creativity, that kind of thing. Then I think that those things happen like because of a level of comfort that exists in the space. You know what I mean? For the child.
It's super, super, super valuable, because now we have to go on to the design aspect. So if we, you know, I'm just thinking maybe if we just had some shapes that they got to put together, they could put together and they could change it each time.
Yeah,
it could
exactly.
be a consistent
Even just an outer layer that they could like reconfigure or something, like nothing instrumental to how technologically this would work per se, but just something that would make their robot a little bit different than their friend's robot type thing, or you know what I mean?
This is great.
Nachshon,